Foxborough was electric. The lights went down, thousands of fans erupted, and BTS took the stage for another unforgettable night. But this time, the spotlight wasn't only on the massive crowd. It was on Jimin. His entrance immediately changed the atmosphere. The energy inside the stadium exploded as fans screamed, lightsticks filled the venue, and Jimin delivered a performance filled with confidence, precision, and undeniable charisma. And here's where the story gets interesting. Imagine 4 of the biggest names in global music watching this performance from VIP seats. Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, Bruno Mars, and Lana Del Rey. What would they see? And why would Jimin's performance become one of the moments people couldn't stop talking about? The lights suddenly went dark. For a brief second, the entire stadium went silent. Then the opening music hit. Thousands of lightsticks illuminated the venue, and the screams became almost deafening. BTS had arrived. But among the 7 members, one particular moment immediately captured attention. Jimin stepped into the spotlight, and the reaction was instant. The crowd exploded. His confidence was obvious from the first movement. His expression, his posture, his precision. Everything seemed perfectly synchronized with the music. But that was only the beginning. As the performance continued, BTS moved through their choreography with incredible precision. Every member had a role. Every transition was carefully timed. Every beat was matched, and the crowd followed almost perfectly. Then came another Jimin moment. The music shifted. The atmosphere became darker. The spotlight narrowed. And suddenly, Jimin was standing almost alone in the center. For a few seconds, everything seemed to slow down. The screaming became quieter. Everyone was watching, waiting, wondering what would happen next. Then the beat returned, and Jimin exploded back into the choreography. The stadium erupted again. That contrast between silence and explosive energy made the performance feel almost cinematic. And if you thought that was the biggest moment of the night, it wasn't. Not even close. Now imagine Justin Bieber watching the performance from a VIP section. As an artist who understands the pressure of performing for massive audiences, he would know exactly how difficult this kind of show can be. A stadium performance requires more than singing. It requires stamina, timing, confidence, consistency, and the ability to control tens of thousands of people at the same time. BTS demonstrated all of it. But Jimin's performance would be particularly difficult to ignore. He wasn't simply executing choreography. He was communicating with the audience. Every movement had intention. Every expression had timing. And every camera shot seemed to find him at exactly the right moment. But what would Taylor Swift notice? Imagine Taylor watching the stadium from the VIP area. Perhaps the first thing she would notice isn't the choreography. It would be the crowd. Because the relationship between BTS and ARMY is extraordinary. Thousands of people singing at exactly the same moment. Thousands of lightsticks moving together. Thousands of voices responding whenever BTS interacts with them. That kind of connection cannot simply be manufactured. It has to be earned. And BTS has spent years building it. The performance became less like a traditional concert and more like a massive conversation between the artists and their audience. BTS performed. ARMY responded. BTS gave more energy. ARMY gave even more back. Suddenly, the entire stadium became part of the show. Then there is Bruno Mars. Imagine him watching the performance. Bruno understands performance. He understands rhythm. He understands timing. And most importantly, he understands how difficult it is to make a live performance look effortless. Watching BTS, one thing would stand out immediately. Precision. The choreography didn't simply happen. It was built around the music. Every movement had to land at the right time. Every formation had to change without disrupting the performance. Every member had to remain synchronized. And yet, despite all that technical difficulty, BTS made it look natural. That is the difference between rehearsing a routine and mastering it. But then, there was another side of the performance, a more emotional side. And that brings us to Lana Del Rey. Imagine the stadium lights becoming softer. The energy changes. The screaming fades slightly. And the focus shifts from spectacle to emotion. This is where Jimin's performance becomes particularly interesting. Jimin can change the atmosphere without changing the size of the stage. His expressions can make a massive stadium feel strangely intimate. One moment, he is performing with enormous energy. The next, he creates a quieter, more emotional atmosphere. That contrast makes people pay attention. And perhaps that is what makes his stage presence so difficult to ignore. But the biggest surprise of the night wasn't just Jimin. It was the way the entire BTS performance continued to build. Every time the audience thought the show had reached its peak, another moment arrived. Another song. Another formation. Another interaction. Another explosion of energy. The production continued to grow. The audience became louder. And the members looked increasingly comfortable on stage. This wasn't a group simply trying to impress the audience. They were controlling the atmosphere. And then something happened that every concert fan understands immediately. The audience started singing louder than the performers. The stadium became one enormous choir. BTS paused. The fans continued. For a few seconds, the members simply listened. And that moment said more than any elaborate stage effect could. It showed the relationship between BTS and ARMY. But there was still one final chapter. And this is where the night became emotional. Eventually, the music began to slow. Everyone knew what that meant. The concert was coming to an end. The members gathered together. They looked toward different sections of the stadium. They waved. They smiled. And the audience refused to let the moment disappear. Thousands of people continued screaming. Lightsticks filled the venue. Some fans were filming. Others were simply standing there, trying to memorize the moment. Then Jimin looked toward the crowd. For a brief moment, he smiled. No complicated choreography. No dramatic effects. Just a performer looking at the people who had spent the entire night supporting him. And that simple moment may have been more powerful than anything else. Because after all the lights, music, choreography, and spectacle, this was what remained. The connection. The concert ended. But online, the conversation had just begun. Fans began posting clips. Screenshots appeared everywhere. Jimin's expressions became screenshots. His choreography became short-form videos. His stage presence became a major discussion. And suddenly, one question began appearing again and again. How does Jimin make everything look so effortless? That question is difficult to answer. Because behind every effortless performance are countless hours of preparation. Training. Rehearsals. Physical conditioning. Vocal preparation. Choreography. And the mental pressure of knowing that tens of thousands of people are watching. The audience sees the final performance. They don't see the work behind it. And that makes the final result even more impressive. Now let's return to the 4 fictional VIP observers. Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, Bruno Mars, Lana Del Rey. 4 artists. 4 different musical worlds. Yet each could appreciate a different element of what happened on that stage. Justin could recognize the pressure of stadium performance. Taylor could recognize the importance of fan connection. Bruno could recognize the precision of live performance. Lana could recognize the emotional atmosphere. Different perspectives. Same stay. Same conclusion. BTS knows how to create an unforgettable concert experience. And Jimin knows how to become unforgettable within it. But here's the real reason this night mattered. It wasn't simply because the stadium was full. It wasn't because the production was enormous. It wasn't because Jimin became a viral topic. It was because the performance represented something much bigger. Years ago, BTS was fighting for recognition. Today, they can stand on a massive stage in front of an enormous American audience and create an atmosphere that belongs entirely to them. That transformation didn't happen overnight. It happened through years of work, years of uncertainty, years of performances, years of building a relationship with ARMY. And Foxborough became another chapter in that story. But here's the question everyone should be asking. If this was only day 2, what happens next? Because BTS has already shown that they can raise expectations after every performance. And Jimin continues proving that he can turn a few minutes in the spotlight into a moment people remember. So maybe the real story isn't what happened at Foxborough. Maybe the real story is what this performance tells us about what could come next. Because when the lights go off, the stage disappears, the crowd goes home, and the cameras stop recording. One thing remains: the memory. And for everyone who witnessed this night, Jimin and BTS gave Foxborough something worth remembering. A night of music, a night of energy, a night of emotion, and a performance that left fans asking the same question. How are they going to top this next time? Only one thing is certain. The story isn't over. The next stage is waiting. And if BTS performs at this level again, the world will be watching. But the story doesn't end when the stadium lights turn back on. In fact, that's when another story begins. Because after BTS left the stage, the images from Foxborough started spreading across social media. Fans were posting their favorite moments. Short clips appeared everywhere. Jimin's expressions, his choreography, his stage presence, the explosive reactions from ARMY. And the more people watched, the more one particular question began to appear. Why did Jimin's presence feel so powerful that night? Was it the choreography? Was it the music? Was it the atmosphere? Or was it something that cannot be rehearsed? The answer may be all of them. But there was something else happening behind the scenes. While fans were celebrating the concert, the performance was also becoming another example of how far BTS has come. Think about that for a moment. A group that began its journey with dreams far bigger than its circumstances was now standing in front of a massive American audience. And they weren't simply surviving the stage. They were owning it. That difference matters. Because performing in front of a huge crowd is one thing. Making that crowd feel emotionally connected to you is something else entirely. And BTS has mastered that connection. Jimin, in particular, has developed a stage identity that is instantly recognizable. The moment he steps into the spotlight, the atmosphere changes. The audience knows something is about to happen.